Excitement is low. But we love cars, at least I do.
Stop. Okay, now go.
Do you like cars?
I do.
I'm talking to the audience because then they and I have something in common. You, not so much. Today on the Road Testament, JF Musial and I, Alex Roy, discuss the Pebble Beach Car Show, why it matters, why we were right about the Porsche 918, why JF is not saying anything, even though he went and I did not, the Morgan EvaGT, and
the Shock Master! All right! The Shock Master! I told you.
Shockmaster. I'm not laughing, even though I am about to say, JF, I'm glad to see you.
Thank you.
Back from Pebble Beach?
Yes, I am.
I haven't gone in several years.
Yeah, actually, the first time I went was with you 4 years ago.
Nobody cares.
Okay.
This year, Pebble Beach was really fascinating, and I was really sorry I didn't go because the show really, it was obvious from the coverage, and you were doing some of the coverage, that the show has dramatically changed. In the old days, or at least 3 years ago, Pebble Beach was, well, you had the Concours, and you had the most extensive selection of vintage cars, some for auction. Jay Leno would cart a bunch of cars up there, and it dwarfs even the Greenwich Concours d'Elegance.
Well, Pebble Beach, the Concours d'Elegance used to be a vintage car show as well as kind of a race around the Monterey Peninsula. That kind of got out of control. That's when the races, the Monterey Historics, moved to Laguna Seca. So now Pebble Beach is just about the vintage cars. But in fact, car manufacturers, high-end car manufacturers, have started to use Pebble Beach as a place to debut, or rather world debut, their new cars.
You know, it seemed to me, I always thought in prior years that manufacturers would bring high-end cars there. What was the Bentley Mulsanne?
Mulsanne was there 2 years ago, then it was the Bugatti Grand Sport last year, and this year we had a few more.
But you know, in prior years, the release of those cars there didn't seem to be that interesting to me because they were just showing off very expensive cars to a fairly small group of very affluent visitors to the car show. Because it's not like the New York Auto Show where you have 100,000, 200,000 people roll through. You might have 10,000 people roll through over the course of a few days.
Probably less than that. And
this year was very obvious, and I didn't go. It was obvious from the online coverage that they had transcended. The show had moved to another level.
Yes.
And the arrival of the Porsche 918 and the Morgan GT, the EvaGT, radically changed the definition of what you can expect at Pebble Beach in the future.
There's also the Lotus T25 race car, which is weird.
That's a good story.
I was not expecting that. So at Pebble Beach, if you guys have not been, there's the concept lawn. So it's all the new manufactured cars that will eventually hit production, or if not, or some kind of level production, which is centered within the lodge at Pebble Beach. And then, of course, you go to the 18th green and you'll see a bunch of cars that most people do not care about.
The kind of place where people like you would not be welcome if there was no car show going on.
That's true, yeah. Well, I'm probably still not welcome there.
Nor am I.
What I want to talk about, and what we're going to talk about today, is how important it is, how important Pebble Beach has become for these manufacturers. It is the perfect demographic for these high-end car makers.
Well, I mean, if you want to sell any of the cars we mentioned, the target market is not the average person in the New York Auto Show, or the Detroit Auto Show, or even the LA, definitely not the LA Auto Show. But here, I mean, given the price of attending the Pebble Beach events, or any of the events around it, I mean, these are the people who are going to buy a car like that.
And there's also international press from around the world that go to Pebble Beach that would not go to the Detroit Auto Show, LA Auto Show, or New York Auto Show. Much better coverage.
Clearly they don't know much about nightlife because they would definitely do, but that's another story. So, I mean, I want to talk about my favorite car of the show, and it's different from your car. In my case, it's the Morgan EvaGT.
Which I'm going to say right now is actually, I was so impressed when I saw it.
So was I.
Yeah.
But before we get down with that path, the Porsche 918.
Yes.
We talked about it a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of heat from some of the comments saying, oh, you're a Porsche guy. And by the way, my pronunciation, Porsche, yeah, I speak some German. You probably don't. Don't tell me how to pronounce Porsche. My mother has one, and she's German. But that's another story.
Got really angry right there.
It is what it is. Look, see, I got this thing on. But the Porsche 918, we took some heat for saying it was a revolutionary car. And we said that before we knew much about it, but the Porsche 918 is here.
It is here.
And they turned around in 6 months. And
yeah, let's tell that story. Actually, it was conceived of August last year, and I had the opportunity to speak with Michael Maurer. I produced the video with him, and they had
Who is Michael Maurer?
Michael Maurer is the chief of design for Porsche AG. He's the guy who actually led the team who designed the 918 hybrid.
I'm good with this guy.
And he's responsible for many of the great creations out of Porsche in the past
good guy.
few years.
Nice guy, good guy.
But it was amazing to hear that they turned that car around in 6 months, not only because they
you say no more because it took GM and Ford how many years to come out with anything?
The Volt is still 6 years down the pipe.
Please go on.
So the 918, as Michael Maurer said, it represents the future of the brand, and as well as the future of the supercar. There was a lot of questions, and I'm taking his words. There were a lot of questions as fuel prices rise and as our dependence on oil increases. A lot of questions as to whether or not the supercar will eventually die. Right. And the 918 represents, well, it's not going to die. There is a future.
He even said that there's no conflict between green technology, fuel economy, and efficiency, and sports car.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's obviously true. I mean, with weight savings and the combination of a standard, engine and electric powertrain, well, you have something radically different. The hybrid haters usually use the Prius as the icon of what a hybrid is, and then pick apart the Prius's shortcomings and say hybrid technology is going nowhere. And
no, the difference is the Prius is going nowhere when you look at the Morgan GT, which gets 40 miles per gallon and uses a turbocharged BMW 6.
Let's move to the Morgan for a second and then come back to the 918.
Okay.
Because if the Morgan EVA, which for Morgan is a light year move up in terms of design. I mean, I love Morgans, and I always wanted a Morgan Aero 8. And I've met Morgan, and he's a great guy, and he's the grandson of the original founder. Morgans have always been characterized by very lightweight, the extensive use of aluminum and wood, and
which is not a bad thing.
No, and BMW drivetrains. So the Aero 8 had an old 4.4 liter 8. Actually, the S62 engine from my M5.
Yeah.
Like a derivative of
so
that.
you have a good chassis out of aluminum. Wood used because it's strong but lightweight, and then you've got a powertrain that you can actually get warranty work done at BMW dealerships.
I think most of them, I'm not sure.
Which is still, it's a BMW mechanic can fix it.
And now you have a car that is in the Morgan design language, which is one of the few companies, and they're still family owned, but one of the few companies with a consistent design language through their entire history, like Porsche, coming out with a car that is $150,000. It's a 2+2. It's beautiful. It looks new, it looks old, but it looks new. With a BMW drivetrain, a 3-liter 6.
Yeah. Sorry.
I've never liked you. And that gets 40 miles to the gallon. And
it's just a turbocharged engine.
Yeah, and that's all it is. So
it makes you think,
savings.
Why the hell would you want to go to a car that looks like a Prius? The batteries are going to die eventually when it just comes down to better engineering.
What it comes down to is a lot of people who buy Priuses do so out of guilt. And they can afford better cars. But they've never had a better green car to buy.
Yeah.
The Fisker Karma's coming out.
Yep.
I think it's going to be cool.
Very cool.
Not too optimistic about the Tesla, whatever they're coming down the pike with.
Model.
Fisker, yes, I am. And it's not because we're friends with Russell Datz, but he's a great guy. Fisker, Russell, yes, good job. Henrik, nice design, change the front. But anyway, there are now cars coming out that are really cool using these technologies. And the Porsche 918 is, kind of a slap in the face to people who've had the debate. Which green tech is going to be the right one? Hybrid, electric, blah, blah, blah.
Hydrogen, yeah.
Well, Porsche has used them all.
Yeah, and not only that, Porsche is saying, you know what, before we actually take this concept car and throw it into production, we're going to prove it first through racing. GT3R hybrid. Nürburgring, it didn't finish, of course, but it was doing a lap further on the Nürburgring than any other car per gas stop. It's going to Petit Le Mans. They're going to prove this technology before it ever hits the street.
And most importantly,
then when it hits the street, people are going to say this car has the technology out of that race car, which won Nürburgring, which won Le Mans.
I don't care about that, but I do care about this. That thing sounds like a 100 chainsaws being started on a freight train going by and outrunning you.
Yeah.
And something, and that's why this Pebble Beach was the most important
And
one.
I think Pebble Beach is going to get even more important as
I agree.
manufacturers start to see, or rather exotic car manufacturers, specialty car manufacturers start to see that this is the demographic, this is the place to showcase new technology, new designs, much
To the
much
people who
further
can
than
afford to buy them.
Exactly, much further than the New York Auto Show or the LA Auto Show. Because that's what's expected. Pebble Beach is for a certain breed of people. You've got designers, you've got
You're
engineers.
such a snob.
No. I'm not on the subway. I'm talking about the type of people that are there. You've got old race car drivers like Tommy Kendall. You've got new designers like Jason Castriota. You've got car collectors like Jay Leno. All people I
none of
saw
this
there.
matters. All that matters is
And executives
we
who
gotta
can
wrap
make
this
decisions.
up.
Sorry.
You've got the people who can afford to buy the cars.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. And that's
true.
what makes Pebble Beach special. And I'm going to go back next year. And man, I really want a Morgan EvaGT.
I want a 918.
Good luck
Wanna
affording
go-
that. Next week of the Road Testament, I have no idea what we're talking about.
I'm happy you said that because now we don't paint ourselves into a corner.
Gumpert, the next DeLorean,
That's on FLD Tour soon, by the way.
next
Gumpert.
week
Gumpert.
on the Road Testament.
Leo Parente.
Woodpecker.